Chief Meteorologist Paul Hagen is here to break down where this is coming from. We talked about it a little while ago why it looks so strange outside, Paul.
Yeah, we'll get to the coloring in just a moment. Let's start with where it's coming from. Those fires in Northern California blowing the smoke towards us, but it's not just Northern California. Let's zoom out for the wider perspective. This is a satellite image of the smoke visible from space before the sun started going down, and those fires, the August complex and the North complex, which includes the Bear Fire, have been blowing that smoke towards us. But it doesn't matter which direction the wind comes from, because if it blew from the east, the smoke from the Creek Fire would blow towards us. If it blew in from the south, the smoke from Southern California would be blowing in. You're seeing that mixed with the marine layer in the other box right now. But even a breeze off the Pacific Ocean, which you think would help us out, well, the smoke in Oregon is actually blowing offshore, and then it just loops around and comes towards us. So we're going to be dealing with this for a while in terms of poor air quality and just that funky look in the atmosphere. And that comes from those smoke particles and the way that those smoke particles filter out the sunlight. Usually the light that we see contains every stripe of the rainbow. You only see those stripes when it's filtered through raindrops, but the smoke doesn't produce exactly the same effect. It's the shorter wavelengths. It's the blue and purple end of the visible spectrum that's more likely to get bounced around. The technical term is scattering, and what makes it through is the longer wavelength light, and that's on the red and orange end of the spectrum. So it's the same thing when you're looking at a sunset. When you're looking towards the horizon, you're looking through more atmosphere. Well, now we're just looking through more of those smoke particles, and all we see is that yellow and orange that's left over, and it's even more of an effect at sunrise and sunset until right now, when it's so thick that it just blocks the light entirely, and earlier than normal sunset, even though technically the sun is still above the horizon. Of course, air quality has been an issue once again, but the air quality map maybe not quite as bad as what you would expect with that orange sky overhead. We'll talk about the role the marine layer plays in that in just a few minutes.
All right.
Again, and Paul, it's hard to believe that smoke is making its way all the way down to us.
And beyond. The whole West Coast is covered in smoke right now. Some of the pictures from Oregon, even worse than what we saw in the Bay Area. I saw where it just looked red in points during the day yesterday. The fire icons you're seeing here, satellite indicated hotspots. So you can see where they're clustered around the largest fires in Oregon, up in Washington State, and then in California as well. The orange coloring indicates heavy smoke. It's everywhere up and down the West Coast, and it's not going to go anywhere for a while, especially in the upper levels of the atmosphere. This is an experimental forecast model. It just focuses on wildfire smoke. We're going to start it at 11 o'clock this evening, and the red and purple indicates the most smoke overhead. We're going to go through 11 a.m. on Friday. That's as far into the future as this particular computer looks. And you see, while it moves around a little bit, it doesn't change to any great extent. But one piece of good news is that while it looks eerie and tomorrow's going to be another weird orange day, that's farther up in the atmosphere because the fires are so far away. The local fires that we had over the last several weeks that are mostly contained now produced that low-level smoke that got trapped. Now it's farther up in the atmosphere, so the marine layer comes into play. Usually, when we look at the atmosphere, the lowest levels are the warmest. It gets colder as you go up. But along the West Coast, including the Bay Area, the marine layer comes into play, and that changes things a bit. Usually, warm air rises up. As long as the surrounding air is cooler, it'll keep going up, and that disperses any smoke that's near ground level. The whole atmosphere has a way of stirring itself vertically. That changes once the marine layer makes its way in, because we get what's called an inversion. The temperature actually goes up as you go up, and that traps things on either side of the boundary. So if we have low-level smoke, that gets trapped, but that has been diminishing as the fires locally have been more contained. It also keeps the upper-level smoke trapped in the upper levels of the atmosphere. So while we're seeing the sun being filtered out by that and producing that orange glow, it's not settling all the way down towards ground level to severely reduce our air quality. Now, it's still an issue. It's going to be an issue for the next several days. The worst air quality tomorrow in the North Bay, inland in the East Bay and the Santa Clara Valley. Unhealthy for sensitive groups, but the way the atmosphere just looked today, you would expect it to be in red or purple, but because it's farther up in the atmosphere, it's why it's not as bad necessarily as it looks. But it looks terrible. I mean, this is unbelievable right now. You can just see the glow from Oracle Park right now. The marine layer is making its way in, so that's the fog that we're seeing now in the city, kind of jumbled together with the smoke. 59 degrees downtown. Otherwise, temperatures are all in the 60s. We're going to drop down just a few more degrees. I mean, maybe a couple, upper 50s to around 60 degrees by early tomorrow morning. Tomorrow's high temperatures are still going to be below average. I think we're going to be maybe a little warmer today as some of that upper level smoke gets mixed around a bit, but still below normal for this time of year, and it's another low confidence forecast. We missed today's forecast high temperatures by a lot. Probably the most I have in 20 years of doing this. I'll just admit it. Tomorrow's another day where that could happen, but I think we're going to be low 60s along the coast, low to mid 70s around the south end of the bay, with mid to upper 70s and low 80s in the Santa Clara Valley. The warm spots won't be all that warm because of that layer of smoke overhead blocking the sunlight. Mid-80s on the east side of the Diablo Range, upper 70s to around 80 degrees for the Tri-Valley, mid to upper 60s to around 70 near the Bay, low 70s for the North Bay and farther north. While you still get that smoke blocking the sunshine, it is going to be a little bit warmer, and the fire weather conditions are still going to be a challenge in Lake and Mendocino counties. Temperatures level off as we head through the next several days. Hopefully that smoke gets mixed around a bit as we head into the weekend. I'll have an update. Darren Peck is going to be in to take a look at different levels of smoke in the atmosphere as well, coming up at 11 o'clock.